Hey everyone, and welcome to r/TodayIF, the sub for the idiot in all of us, where we get to see the biggest mistakes that people have ever made. Now today, I've got a funny little chain for you of TodayIF posts that led to more TodayIF posts that led to some interesting consequences. So let's not waste another second and get straight into this first one by user/Gary Oak. My daughter's love of Bob Ross started in the womb. I had terrible insomnia throughout my pregnancy, and I would listen to Bob Ross painting tutorials each night to fall asleep. At the time, I thought it helped me sleep because it was essentially soothing background noise. But recently, I've learnt about ASMR, and I realise that I'm super susceptible to certain sounds, such as quiet, calm voices and the scratching of paintbrushes and tools. Anyways, after my daughter was born, I continued to have a hard time sleeping. This time because of a crying and demanding baby. So every night, I'd lay down in my bed with her next to me in the bassinet, and I'd play Bob Ross. As my daughter got older, she began to demand Bob Ross. We'd read a board book or two before bed, and then we'd watch one half-hour tutorial. By the end of these videos, my daughter, and often myself, would be sound asleep. For years, this routine has continued. It continued through my second pregnancy, and now with my second daughter as well. We watch Bob Ross every single night. We've seen each and every Joy of Painting tutorial, all 403 episodes, multiple times. Some nights, I think my kids have fallen asleep during book time. We're past board books and onto chapter books now. But when I close the book and prepare to sneak out of their room, inevitably, one or both of them chirps up, "Mama, what about Bob Ross?" And so, we watch Bob Ross. Which brings me to this fateful day. After watching a particularly compelling episode of The Joy of Painting, my 4-year-old sighed and happily said, "Mama, one day I'd like to go visit Bob Ross. Where does he live again?" To which I replied, "Muncie, Indiana, remember?" "Oh yes," she said, recalling that Bob mentions Muncie frequently. And then, and to this day, I still don't entirely know why, I said these words. "But honey, I have to tell you something. Bob Ross died a long time ago. We might be able to visit Muncie, but we won't be able to meet Bob." And my daughter broke down completely. Now, like most parents, I've seen my kids cry. I've seen all their cries. When they're angry, hungry, scared, bored, whining, manipulating, you name it. But I had never heard her cry like this. She was completely and utterly bereft. She was wailing and punching herself in the chest and thighs while giant strangled sobs burst from her lungs. The news that her hero was dead just destroyed her. She cried for a solid 20 minutes. My husband helpfully shouted up from the main room of the house, "What the hell made you think that was a good idea? Seriously, what possessed you to tell her that?" And I couldn't really answer, except that I'd felt in the moment that I shouldn't lie to her. That I should tell her the truth about Bob Ross, and that he wasn't alive anymore. After she stopped crying, we talked a lot about Bob Ross, how he died, and about his legacy. I told her about how Bob Ross gave a very important gift to the world, and that his own love of painting had inspired so many artists and people in every country. Even as a 4-year-old with limited understanding of life and death, she seems to find some solace in that 1.5 years later, she still brings up how Bob Ross made a lot of people happy, and how he makes her happy still. So that's my TodayIF up. My lively 5.5 and 3-year-old daughters will surely be demanding Bob Ross tonight. And as always, I will oblige them. Yeah, wow, that's one of those things that's so easy to forget. It's mundane enough for adults that realize the idea that people sometimes die, but for kids, someone they see on the TV every day, it would be absolutely heartbreaking. But funnily enough, this story leads on to another one. So let's get straight into this one by user/CruiseRack. I was reading this TodayIF post about a mother who told her 4-year-old that her hero Bob Ross is dead. One part got me in a fit, and naturally, my girlfriend asked me what made me laugh. So I started explaining the story in short. As soon as I told her, the kid had to cry because she'd just been told Bob was dead. All colour left her face. With tears in her eyes and a pouting lip, she asked me if I was serious. I explained to her that Bob Ross had in fact died in 1995, showing her the Wikipedia page to corroborate it. My girlfriend is up there on the cries because swans can be gay spectrum, so surprising her with this fact was not a smart move. The weeping waned away, but the sad and defeated mood stayed. And now I'm on my way to pick up a bottle of wine and a tub of ice cream, so that we can enjoy that during a Bob Ross paint-along. I guess it'll be watercolour made with tears. Thanks, user/Gary Oak. Yeah, wow, disregard everything I just said about adults being able to realise this. Hey, it can be traumatic if you don't realise someone has actually died. And at least OP, you're making up for it. You're getting wine and ice cream, and come on, what else can you really ask for? But this story does not end here. This next post by user/Mr. Miles continues this chain along. So, after reading the original TodayIF edUp, and the one after where people lose their minds about learning about Bob Ross's death, I thought it would be a great idea to tell my grandpa about these two stories to make him laugh. Luckily, he'd known about his death already, and he started busting out laughing. But then, as I got up to tell Grandma, he stopped dead in his tracks, and sternly told me never to tell Grandma that story. Visibly concerned, I asked him why not. He then went out to confess how many times he cheated on his wife, using the excuse that he'd been hanging out with Bob Ross for painting lessons. Only problem is, he'd been dead for about 2 years the last time he pulled this on her. Let's just say I see my grandpops in an entirely different light now. He did compensate me with $50, but I definitely deserve a lot more for that kind of mental scarring. Jeez, that took a turn for the worst quickly. I was not expecting that one. But at the same time, if your husband claims to be hanging around with Bob Ross, I mean, come on, I would demand proof that you're actually there. You know, maybe a picture, actually meeting the guy, because I mean, you're just hanging out, you're buddies, why not? I mean, I guess if it worked, but at the same time, wow. And luckily for us, that is the end of those Bob Ross stories. If it got any worse, I feel like it might have been terrifying. My next few stories also do have a theme. They involve exploding mice. Yep, I know, an interesting one. So let's get straight into this first one by user/sbuck23, so you can find out what it's about. A couple of things worth knowing before we continue. My partner is a farmer, and we get up at 4 AM every morning. We also live in an old wood house up a mountain. Okay, so this happened to me this morning. We woke up as usual, and I went to put on the coffee machine, which we set up the night before because 4 AM is a ridiculous time to try and do anything. While the coffee was brewing, I absent-mindedly began to clear the sink from the night before. We're pretty lazy at night, so all the dishes and etc. just get soaked. So, in my 4 AM haze, I'm fishing about in the sink, trying to clear up the rice from yesterday's meal so that the water will go down. I grab what I assume to be a tea bag and go put it in the bin. But of course, before I can do that, I have to squeeze the liquid out, as I don't want dirty water in the bottom of the bin. Here's the F up, in case you didn't see it coming. The tea bag is a dead mouse that has drowned overnight and become waterlogged and swollen. I squeeze the mouse and it explodes, covering my face with its awful pink water and viscera. I've got no idea why my mouth was hanging open at the time, apart from it was 4 AM and I was probably mouth breathing and half asleep still. It tastes like pennies and sadness. I may never be the same again. God damn, that is not something I want happening to me. That is genuinely terrifying. Imagine picking something up, looking down, and it's a dead mouse. Even worse, hope he didn't even realize it's a dead mouse. Just grabbed it, gave it a squeeze, and the whole thing explodes. What a way to start the morning. I feel like you would have had enough adrenaline in your OP that you didn't care it was 4 AM anymore. And here's the next post by user/SpineChill. Just to clarify, I didn't kill the mouse. I own a couple of snakes, and they eat frozen mice. About 2 years ago though, I got a new hatchling for my collection. A really beautiful animal, but I had problems getting her to eat. I contacted the breeder that I got her from, and asked what I could try. I was told that some snakes just don't accept dead foods, so I should try and get the mouse to body temperature. Me being a real genius, thought the best way to do this was to just put it in the microwave for a couple of seconds. I put the mouse in and selected the lowest setting. As soon as I hit the start button, the mouse exploded. I opened the microwave only to find that the mouse was gone. And all I was left with was this slime that coated the whole thing from top to bottom. I've never smelt anything like this. Now we have a new microwave. I learnt from my mistake and only heat mice under warm water. Yeah, no, I wouldn't even have bothered trying to clean that. Straight in the dump, new microwave time, and never do that again. Now, I do seem to have run out of these themed stories. I thought they'd take me a little bit longer to get through. But not to worry, I will just do a different one. Also involving some bad smells and some food regrets. This one is by user/Time Lord Fishbrain, and I think you guys will enjoy it. So, a couple years ago, my little sister got a new backpack. And instead of cleaning out the old one and throwing it away, she moved it into the coat closet. Today, I had the lovely privilege of finding it and cleaning it out. The first outstanding thing I found was a home packaged lunch that'd been left to rot in a closet for 2 years. From the looks of this, my sister had not touched the food, so it was all there, gathering immense amounts of mold and turning to mush. After throwing away 3 or 4 bags of unidentifiable fruits and vegetables, I came across the thermos. Why I didn't follow my gut instinct and throw this thing out is beyond me at this point. But I made an attempt to open it. I tried to unscrew the cap with absolutely no success. Trying a little harder, again, I went to unscrew it. At this point, the bottle was taunting me. It had waged a war that it already knew it had won. I was pulling out every trick imaginable. Running it under hot water, using a towel for better grip, tapping it against a hard surface. But the capsule remained vigilant. I finally admitted defeat and turned to get reinforcements. But this is the exact moment that it had been waiting for. After I got about 10 feet from the sink, I heard an explosion. A wave of pure, nauseating, vile putridness hit my nose before I even heard the cap hit the floor. The microbes had been preparing for this moment for 2 years, and I unsuspectingly activated their trap card. My eyes were watering, and I was futilely attempting to suppress the gagging that ensued. I've smelled many awful things in my life. Skunk, weed, rotting human feces, but none have left nearly as deep of a scar as what I've experienced today. The only way I can describe the smell is pure danger. My nose was screaming biohazard. I ran back to the sink to finish what I'd started and dumped probably an inch or 2 of soap on the mac and cheese that was left rotting twice through the summer, fall, winter and spring in a pathetic attempt to mask the smell. I dumped the vile blob down the irrigator, praying that I would live. I could feel the life force draining from me as the smell continued to permeate my nose. I retreated from the house for a couple hours, begging that the smell had left. But the faint smell of rotten dairy still lurked in the house. I don't know how long exactly it took, but it eventually dissipated, and I've been left only with the scar of my stupidity. Yeah, that thing needed to go straight in the dump. Don't even look at it. Don't even bother. There is no winning this war. I mean, I've left, like, dirty containers closed up in places that I've just forgotten about and I've sat for a couple of months, but 2 years. I mean, a couple months worth of smell I can still sort of get rid of. I mean, it might linger for a bit, but it eventually goes out and doesn't destroy the whole house. But 2 years, that would cause something. I feel like there was basically a new colony in this thermos. Like, this was a whole new world that had formed in there. And guys, I think this post will be the last one for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for edit videos 3 times every single week. I've been doing a few extra videos lately, so enjoy those while you can. Regular upload schedule is still Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.